As stated in the title of Chapter 3 of my video, Takedown of Heterosexual Relationships, not all can fit on the ark. I thought this might have been an incorrect bit of wording, considering in the literal story, Noah tried to save everyone. He didn't have the same amount of people to save back then, as is the current population of the planet, and as of this writing, which is actually, well, as of this writing, February 10th, 2021, obviously I'm recording it a little bit later than that. So maybe he could have actually saved everyone if they would have listened to him. If they would have only listened. It's amazing how much that comes up sometimes. In this usage case, the planetary system in which we live has so demanded it that not everyone can be in the top 10, meaning in the top 10%, right? Meaning it's not just capitalism, despite all that can legitimately be said about its modus operandi, or communism, or socialism, or fascism, or any other kind of ism, as is evidenced by the animal kingdom. Even in that kingdom, there's some at the top in all groups, not just, oh my god, the lions or the elephants are at the top and the ants are at the bottom. No. In every group, there's some that are at the top and some that are not. Probably see who's mating and who isn't, right? And that's probably the first one. And I think the only kingdom, quote unquote, that it's not the case is maybe the plant kingdom, as far as I know. But then again, I haven't really been checking out the vegetation like that, so yeah, there's that. You have the top 1% to 5% and 10% even. The bottom 90% need not apply. Okay. So then, the logical question comes, why bother? I am not Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, meaning that I am not immortal. Okay. Did I just show my age with that one? Jesus Christ. Clan MacLeod, not immortal. No point in being immortal if you're going to look like 10,000 years old when you are 10,000 years old. So you're going to need some infinite youth to go along with that immortality, and you don't have that either. Right. So then, with your finite life, O mortal Hume, what profit is it to chase after something that you have a 10% chance at best and a 1% chance at worst of attaining no matter how hard you work? All right. That's not even assuming 100% of people, i.e. your competition, is giving 100% of themselves 100% of the time. The system itself makes it harder, with the most glaring example being that the more you make, as far as money, right, the more the system takes from you in the form of taxes, at least here in the Western world, right? Probably everywhere else as well. Nowhere else in life would you accept such odds. And to drive that home, go skydiving with a parachute that has a 90 to 99% chance of not opening. Done, right? The consequence of that dynamic dynamic of mathematical logic applies here as well. It actually applies to a whole hell of a lot of things, but applies here as well. For those that say, well, that's everything in life that's worth having. We all have to work hard, but not everyone will make it. To that I say, wrong. I actually wrote that in all caps too, bolded as well. Wrong. Other areas where you have to get to the top of the mountain, where you have to get to the top of the mountain, the harder you work, the more you get up there. You're not taxed by some external entity, right? And you can get in the upper annals, or at least be of consequence and have consequential fruits of your labor to show for it, right? Case in point, lifting weights at the gym, studying most, if not everything, getting a certification in whatever, learning how to fix cars, learning what freshly grown raw foods to eat, so as to be as healthy as humanly possible, etc. Just everything else, the harder you work, the more you can be at the top of that arena, right? But for some reason, just society as a whole, just being socio-economically, I guess is the best term. There are people that have been working their entire lives, and they don't crack the top 25%, and that's not including any kind of crap that comes to wipe you out. .com here, '08 there, and then of course this thing that's pretty much kicking everybody in the nuts. This bubonic beta that is now almost at a year-long run. So it's insane. Insane. All of these examples and more give a more or less constant linear rate of return based on how much work, smart and or hard, you put in. Short of things out of your control, such as genetics and mental ability, and even then that's within reason, there's no external entity that hinders you. More or less. Actually, I guess a lot less than more, as we see now, considering how the government is able to just, and everything shuts down at the end of a gun if it doesn't shut down as they demand. So yeah, okay. Hinders you. There's no horizontal asymptote. If anybody remembers math, anybody remembers high school math, and actually in my case, middle school math. Actually, elementary, the teacher tried to show this to us in elementary school, and only the whole horizontal asymptote thing, and only 5 people got it, and I was the 5th person to get it. Everybody else is just like, sonic boom, just over the head, right? Anyway, but we'll go with high school because that's where most people see it. Horizontal asymptote. Where are we? That you approach but never cross, no matter how much you work. More commonly known by the phrase diminishing returns. That can't be said for the quest to be in the top 10 to 1% in society. Right. I remember some time back stumbling, and I believe this video that I'm about to talk about is here on YouTube somewhere. I believe that's where actually I saw it. Maybe it was Daily Motion. Can't quite remember. Some time back, I remember some time back stumbling across this video of what looked like a Senate hearing, right? Or something to that effect. And there was this older man, maybe a boomer, if not World War II generation, who said something that in that meeting that burned in my mind the first time I heard it. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, the system that we have in place now makes it so that you can make money playing fair by the rules and being moral and ethical and dignified up to a certain point. After a certain point, either you and or someone you're rolling with has to, again, I'm paraphrasing, you or someone you're rolling with has to have done something more or less illegal and usually, if not always, immoral to get any extra wealth and power, assuming you weren't simply given it because you were born into it. If anybody knows of the video I'm talking about, or of the meeting, the hearing where this elderly white man said that, please post that link, and I will update the more info panel as such. I've tried to find it, but again, assuming that I heard that on YouTube, that was probably back in the mid to late 2000s, so well over 10 years ago. Yeah. To close this chapter, the USA hadn't gotten to close this chapter. The USA hadn't gotten off the gold standard. If the USA hadn't gotten off the gold standard, talk like this, like what I'm doing right now, and really just this whole thing of high value man, wouldn't be necessary. The ones with the most wealth and power and the ones with the least wealth and power, obviously excluding the homeless and the Rothschild rich, extremes rather, could not only see each other, but but maybe even worked in the same building and shopped in the same malls, even if not at the same stores. Uh, Basically, there was not such a disconnect before that time, right? I mean, we started seeing some cracks after World War II. Amazing how everything after World War II. But it wasn't until the 70s, or getting off that, yeah, 70s, getting off that gold standard, where things started taking a upward drive for the worst, right? Upward drive, but steep decline. Amazing how that works. It was possible, within reason, to actually transport yourself to the 1 to 10% realm, up until that point where some went like this and some went like that. And God knows where they are now in comparison. Yeah.